Hello and welcome to Love My Poland. When we think of Europe and consider what countries are the priciest to live in, we think about Switzerland, Monaco, or some Scandinavian countries. And there's no doubt that those countries are expensive, but you rarely hear stories about citizens there complaining about it. Here in Poland, on the other hand, I have seen the cost of living rise drastically since Poland joined the European Union back in 2004, with salaries sadly struggling to keep up. Stacked on top of that, there are more and more taxes being created each year, like the sugar tax that the Polish government decided to recently impose on all of us. This sugar tax most visibly affects the price of drinks loaded with sugar, like energy drinks or good old Coca-Cola, my favorite. And it's the talk of the town right now among my friends and all of my students. Before the decision, the price of a 2-liter bottle of Coke would run you about 5 zlotys, or just about over $1. But now, after the tax, this same bottle of Coke goes for almost 10 zloty, or $2.50. The government claims it's all about our health. They're thinking about us, so we're okay. You know, Poles joke around that the price of cola may soon be the same or close to the price of alcohol, which actually isn't too far off. But I'm making this video today because in all of my years living here, I've heard tourists coming to Poland say things like, "Wow, Poland is so cheap. Man, Russ, it must be nice to live and work in Poland where everything is so affordable." And you know, I have to admit, I felt the same way when I first came over from the US, but now when I hear it, I cringe inside and I have to bite my tongue. It really irritates me because you know, for Poles, Poland is anything but cheap. So first-time visitors to Poland, please, if you can, avoid saying anything like this if at all possible. Anyways, let's get to it. It's my goal today to show you just how expensive it is to live in Poland, and it's coming up right now. If you ask me, I'm convinced that Poland just might be one of the most expensive countries throughout the EU when you consider the bang for the buck buying power, the earning power that citizens have here. Now to begin with, I'd like to use some easy figures for simple calculation. Let's use two currencies, the American dollar and the Polish zloty. And to keep things uncomplicated, let's say that a reasonable American salary for one person is $4,000 per month and a reasonable Polish salary is 4,000 zlotys per month, of course after taxes. And you know, these aren't perfect figures, but they're close enough. Let's also say, for the sake of simplicity, that $1 equals 4 Polish zlotys, which would mean spending 1 zloty on a Polish salary is essentially the same as spending $1 on an American salary. Does that make sense? I hope so. Let's keep it simple. Here on my table today, I have a few items. I'm going to use common items that will kind of show you how much it costs the average Pole. And to start off today, I think the best example is to consider housing. Most people I know live in a flat or an apartment, and when it comes to buying your own apartment, here in this city of Częstochowa, the price is about 5,000 zloty per square meter. So when you consider a family like I have 3 children, you're going to need at least 70 square meters. That would cost you 350,000 zloty. That's about $90,000. You know, that price may not be all that shocking, but imagine having to pay $350,000 for an apartment of just 540 square feet. And you know, Częstochowa is a normal town with a population of just over 200,000 people. We're not talking about New York City or London here. You know, it's astronomically high in my opinion. Yet, it's still pretty cheap when we compare housing prices to larger cities over in Krakow or up in Warsaw. And you know, that's not all. There's also a mandatory monthly maintenance fee on top of all of that, which ranges between 500 to 700 zloty for such an apartment at that size. For our next example, let's look at a pair of Levi's jeans. I bought these jeans in a shopping mall over in Katowice and I paid exactly 240 zloty, which would be about $60 US. You know, I realize that Levi's are an imported good here in Poland, but can you imagine having to spend $240 for a single pair of Levi's? That's unfortunately the reality here. Next up, in America, we adore our fast food and we're in love with our dollar menus. But let's say you'd like to buy a Big Mac meal deal in Poland with a supersized fry and drink. It's going to run you about 23 zlotys, or just about $6, about the same price. And that sounds all right, but for a Pole with a decent job, that's like paying $23 for a Big Mac combo, mind you. Crazy. Up next, I bought a nice new mobile phone recently, and it was a Huawei. I paid 2,400 zloty, which would be about 600 bucks. The price is similar around the globe for that phone, but a nice iPhone 12 here costs you just under 7,000 zloty, or about $1,800. Can you see paying nearly $7,000 for an iPhone? That would equate to investing nearly 2 months of your salary for one phone. It is outrageous. Let's mention glasses next. After breaking my last pair recently, I picked up these a few months ago. They're ordinary glasses with the anti-reflective coating on the lenses. The lenses and the frame together cost me 950 zloty, which would be about $240. But in Poland, just think, 950 bucks for a pair of reading glasses. What about cars in Poland? Well, car prices are pretty similar from country to country in Europe, but again, taking into the account the monthly earnings, a well-equipped Toyota Corolla, for example, that would cost you around $20,000 in the US, would easily reach 100,000 zloty in Poland. Could you see paying 100 grand American for a Toyota Corolla? And staying on cars for a moment, filling up your car's standard tank of fuel in Poland is pricey. Simply put, fuel costs around $5 per gallon here, so nearly $20 per gallon on a Polish salary. You can do the math on how much that would cost you each month. And oil changes. An oil change of synthetic oil is 200 zlotys, so it would be like paying $200 for an oil change. But you know, not everything is so terrifyingly expensive. I run my own English school, I have my own company, and I pay each month something called ZUS. This includes my health care, my medical, dental, it pays into my retirement, it covers social security costs. For my family of 5, we pay just about 1,500 zloty, or under $400. Another good example of a better bargain was my MRI. I was having some really strange headaches about a year ago, and I went to the doctor. He recommended an MRI, but the nearest free MRI term covered under the National Health Plan was 6 months into the future. I couldn't wait that long, so I decided to do it privately, and I paid 700 zloty, or just under $200. According to Time magazine, the average cost of an MRI in the USA is $2,611. I'm fine, by the way, it was just too much stress. I get my hair cut twice a month, and my barber charges me 20 zlotys, which is just about $5, so that's not too bad. And a half liter of vodka, you might know I love Wyborowa, it's my favorite. It'll run you about 23 zlotys, or about $6. Try finding a bottle of vodka in the USA for $6. I bet you can't. Well, those were just a few simple examples, but I think you get the point. I have to remind you that I love Poland, and in no way in this video am I trying to throw shade on Poland in any way. This video is a response, to the common Poland is so cheap mentality that travelers have when they come here. My hope for Poland is that the European Union does more to encourage a more level pay scale within all member countries. A wise Polish friend of mine once said, "Russ, if you want to save money, never ever convert prices to dollars. You have to change your thinking. $1 is 1 zloty, 1 zloty is $1. He was a smart guy, good friend of mine. My advice is to be sensitive to the reality here, and if you've got the money, invest in Poland if you have the chance to. I want to thank you so much for watching. If you have not subscribed to my channel, go ahead and click the button right here on my pair of expensive Levi's jeans so you don't miss out on future episodes. Thank you so much for tuning in, and see you in the next video.